There are cities you can understand from photographs, and there are cities you only begin to understand when you imagine yourself walking through them, hearing the traffic, smelling food from a small restaurant, watching a shopkeeper roll up the shutters for the day, and looking up to find mountains rising behind the buildings. Tehran is one of those cities. For most people outside Iran, this capital is familiar mainly through headlines. But headlines only tell one story. Behind them is a city of markets, food, palaces, mountains, cafes, and millions of ordinary lives. So today, we're not rushing from landmark to landmark. We're going to slow down and experience Tehran the way a traveler actually would, and stay until the end. Because by the time we reach the mountains north of the city, Tehran starts to look like a completely different place than where we began. Tehran is the capital of Iran, a vast, energetic metropolis where centuries of history sit beside modern daily life. Our journey starts where the city's commercial heart has beaten for generations. The Grand Bazaar. The Grand Bazaar is a massive network of covered passages, and its history runs deep into how Tehran grew into a capital in the first place. Walk through it and you'll find spices, dried fruits, nuts, carpets, jewelry, and household goods stacked in narrow corridors. Nothing like the wide-open sameness of a modern shopping mall. Small businesses, busy customers, the constant sound of commerce. This is one of those moments where travel stops being sightseeing. You're not looking at an attraction. You're watching a city's everyday economic life happen in front of you. And naturally, food is part of that. Iranian cuisine is known for kebab, rice-based dishes, hearty stews, fresh herb, and warm bread, along with dizzy, a traditional dish built from meat, chickpeas, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, and spices. Around the markets and streets, you'll also find quicker options like falafel. Nearby, Marvis Alley, an old commercial street near the historic center, offers another glimpse of Tehran's older urban rhythm, where traditional shops and food stalls have operated for generations. From there, the journey moves north to Tadrish, where the character of the city starts to shift. Tadrish Bazaar is another traditional market, colorful, active, packed with fresh produce, spices, dried fruits, pickles, saffron, and olives. But its real value isn't just what you can buy there. It's a window into how traditional markets and modern city life sit right next to each other. Step outside, and Tehran's modern side appears almost immediately. Cafes, contemporary stores, busy roads, modern buildings wrapping around older neighborhoods. That contrast is one of Tehran's defining qualities. A traditional market can sit a short walk from a modern commercial strip. A historic building can stand beside a contemporary cafe where a younger generation meets, while traditional tea culture continues just a few streets away. Persian music carries that same thread of continuity, a long, important cultural tradition that remains part of Iran's identity today, encountered in cultural venues and settings where it's appropriate to experience it. Tehran isn't a backdrop for a travel video. Millions of people live, work, study, and raise families here, and the more closely you look, the more that becomes a real story. Now leave the crowded market behind and step into somewhere completely different. Golston Palace. Located in the historic center, the palace complex dates to the Qajar period and is recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. Its architecture and interiors reflect Persian artistic tradition alongside influences that arrived through Iran's wider international connections. Inside, the noise of the street fades almost instantly. What's left is courtyards, intricate tilework, mirrored halls, gardens, and rooms decorated with extraordinary care. Tehran's history isn't locked away in a textbook. Here, it's something you can stand inside. From the palace, the journey climbs north, toward the greener side of the city and toward the Alborz Mountains. On a clear day, the Alborz Range dominates the northern horizon, forming one of Tehran's most memorable natural backdrops, though visibility shifts with the weather. This part of the city slows down. Mellat Park is one of Tehran's largest public green spaces. The Sadabad cultural and historical complex combines museums, historic buildings, and sprawling gardens set close to the mountains. Nyavran, another northern district, holds its own historic palace and cultural sites. Trees, walking paths, museums, open space, a different rhythm entirely from the bazaar we started in. Tehran is a massive capital city. It would be dishonest to call it quiet or stress-free. There's traffic, noise, and the ordinary pressure of a metropolis with millions of people. But peaceful moments still exist inside it. Sitting under a tree in a park, drinking tea in a quiet cafe, looking toward the mountains, walking through a museum in silence. Peace doesn't always require an isolated beach or a remote village. Sometimes it just means slowing down enough to notice where you actually are. Tehran also has a contemporary identity. Museums, galleries, theaters, universities, and creative spaces that shape the city's modern character. The Tehran Museum of Contemporary Art is especially well known, offering a perspective that goes far beyond Iran's ancient and royal history. Iran isn't frozen in the past. Its culture keeps evolving through art, cinema, literature, music, fashion, and everyday life. As evening settles in, Tehran changes again. Storefronts start to glow. Cafes fill with conversation. Restaurants get busier. The streets keep moving. A traveler here might spend the evening tasting traditional food, wandering a shopping district, visiting a cultural venue, or just walking a neighborhood and watching the details unfold. The point isn't to force Tehran into one single story. It's historic and modern, crowded and peaceful, traditional and contemporary, often within the same afternoon. Responsible travel means preparing properly. Anyone considering a trip to Iran should check current entry requirements, local laws, transportation conditions, and official travel advisories, since circumstances can change. Visitors should also respect local expectations around clothing, photography, religious sites, and public behavior. The goal of travel was never to make another culture look strange. It's to understand it with curiosity and respect. And that might be the most important thing Tehran can teach a visitor. A city can't be understood through headlines alone. Behind the politics and the news are streets full of ordinary life. Families sharing meals, students studying, shopkeepers serving customers, artists creating, friends meeting for coffee. Those everyday moments are what turn a name on a map into a place with an actual personality. Picture standing somewhere in the north of Tehran as the evening light fades, the city spreading out below, the Alborz Mountains rising behind it. Behind you, the markets, the palace, the parks, the cafes. Ahead of you, a city that keeps moving long after the camera stops recording. Tehran doesn't need to be perfect to be fascinating. Its beauty comes in the complexity, from history and modern life sharing the same streets, and from quiet moments that show up unexpectedly inside a massive capital. Now I want to hear from you. If you could visit one place from today's journey first, the Grand Bazaar, Gorlistan Palace, or the mountains north of the city, which one would you pick? Tell me in the comments. If this gave you a different perspective on Iran, remember, travel is about looking past first impressions to find the human story underneath. Every city has more than one story. Sometimes the most memorable journey starts the moment you slow down and let a place speak for itself. Subscribe for our next journey, coming soon.